Aisteoir. I am the most inappropriate person to be speaking to you today because my Irish is very, very limited. So I'm just going to give you a little background of what happened here. I was searching for someone or something one day in the graveyard for 2 months ago, and I came across this particular grave, which was in a very bad state of repair. If something like the one you see up here on the right, Rory here saw it at the time as some other people. So I felt a little bit embarrassed, and I took it upon myself to try and make it more respectful. And I would like to thank Rice Carling Ford, who done a magnificent job on this particular grave, because the headstone was kind of inebriated, to say the word. The foundation stone was also gone, and there was huge cracks on the foundation, and the sides were all gone. So he did accuse me of putting him under pressure. And he told me actually one day, because I came to see every day the work was going on, that I was in the graveyard more often than he was. But I have to say that took care of it in the most appropriate way. And I actually came in one day, and I thought there were 2 spacemen standing here, because they were covered with all sorts of material and hoods and everything else. And the painstaking way that that particular headstone was repaired was something to behold, and it's marvellous. And everything on it is an original. All the writing is from the beginning. And as you see there, there's the family of Pheadar Ó Dubda, his parents, and all his siblings there, some of whom may not have been as well known as Pheadar, but played a huge part not only in their own local history, but in the history of Ireland. Because in the 3, possibly 2.5 generations you're talking about there, Owen Ógloch, who died in 1942, was a founder member of Gaeilge, and is the man who actually gave them their name, Gaeilge. And he took that name from when the Great Famine happened in Ireland and everybody emigrated, bar myself and a few youth people. There was a great family of Gaels gathered in New York after landing on Ellis Island, and he thought it was a great idea to call that particular club Clan na Gael after what had happened in America. His other brother there, we would have known in Castleton Road, Dick Dowd, because he died there in 1960. Dick lived beside Henry's garage, or now Cuskin's office equipment there in Dundalk. Dick was a huge man on a bicycle. He had one of the biggest bicycles I ever saw in my life. And not only that, as these 2 men over here, even though they're from the soccer tradition, I won't introduce that at all. He had a step on the bicycle to get up onto the bicycle. It was that high. And then he had a big, huge hat on him. So when we were playing football at the corner of the street and you saw Dick Dowd coming, you needed to get off that street rapidly. And it's only relatively recently I discovered that he actually rode every day practically during the original Troubles to Belfast, because he was known as the greatest dispatch rider for the volunteers at that time. So there's huge history involved in this particular grave. But we are here especially to commemorate Pheadar. And I'm not going to give you all the details of that particular gentleman, but he's a famed person in this part of the world. And it was awful to see his grave the way that it was. But it has been lovingly restored, and I'm very, very grateful to everybody who made a contribution, because it gave me the push to go ahead. And particularly I'd like to thank Seamus Carp there, who told me to go public with it. And when I did so, the response was immediate, and I'm very, very thankful to you all. And we should all be very proud of the people that's in this particular grave, and Dundalk should be very proud to know this particular man exists here. Next year is the 50th anniversary of his death, so I won't be here much longer, so I'm throwing it open to people here to make sure this grave is taken care of, and next year there should be a proper celebration of 50 years of Pheadar Ó Dubda. Now, I have been in touch with the National Library and the local library here, and they are going to put up, they're going to get the great Bible that he translated on display here in Dundalk, along with his other works next May, which will coincide with the 50th anniversary of his death. So, in short, we're here just to have a blessing to give. Follow me, please. has gone to great pains to come up with appropriate prayers, etc. The only thing I was disappointed was that he didn't put one in for myself, because I badly need them. But however, I'm sure you might forgive me. And I'm going to ask someone, if we have a wreath of flowers here, if someone would just, anybody at all would just put the wreath on the grave, we much appreciate it. Yeah, any of the Quigleys were at the bottom there too. Not a big deal, lads, just come over and put it on the grave. Yeah. Oh, you're in charge. I'll hand you over to our good priest Fada.
Well, a Gaeilge can of road Urraim sa bheith láthair an seo aniu agus a bheith páirteach in san ócáid seo. Hannig Michael thugam couple of seachtain ó hin agus Louis sé go dé mar a Harlan seo agus Dheisiú Urraim an mian tilsena couple of Pheadar Ó agus an Uaighe agus an leat nua Dheisiú A Uaighe agus dúirt mé go mian cinse mar céan aró anya farsanda agam Pheadar Ó Dubda, bhí ólas agam fa Dúdal agus bhí ardmhas agam a riú mar gine agus mar Gaeilge. As it happens, I am present serving in the parish of Kilkerley, where I served before actually, 15 years ago now as parish priest, and it was in the parish of Kilkerley that Pheadar Ó Dubda was born and baptised. His father, as you can see, was Richard O'Dowd. He was a native of Westmeath. He was in the RIC, was stationed in the barrack in Hackball's Cross, married a local woman, Mary Quigley of Barronstown. Delighted to see so many of the Quigleys here today. It was obvious that his heart was more with the people than with the RIC, and he managed to get early retirement. But he reared a very large family, most of whom, maybe or all of whom, are buried here in this plot today. Pheadar was born in 1881. And I was thinking about him and his many talents. A very proud Louth man, of course, and you know from the Louth County Council crest that has on it Lugh, the old Celtic deity after whom Louth is named, one of the gods of the Tughadh Ómós, and one of his epithets was Lugh shaoil Ildánach, of many arts, of many talents, of many accomplishments, and very appropriate, I think, for Pheadar Ó Dubda, because he was a man of many arts, many gifts, and many accomplishments. Ildánach, and a man of great energy. He devoted his whole life, I suppose you could say, to the Irish language. He loved the Irish language and spent his whole life in promoting Irish. He was a gifted teacher. He taught as a Muintir Taistil for Conra na Gaeilge, taught in many branches of the Conra in County Louth, South Armagh, South Down. He taught in primary schools in Dundalk, North Louth, the Cooley Peninsula, taught in the Maris College in Dundalk. Very much involved with the Irish College in Omeath from 1912 until it closed in 1926, and he went then with Father Larry Murray to Ranafirstje in Tyrconnell, where he also taught and was involved there. He was also a very prolific writer. He wrote many articles for newspapers and periodicals, and published over 20 books and booklets of many kinds, stories, plays, rhymes, all or mostly in Irish. But as Mickey said, his magnum opus, his great work, was this translation of the Bible into Irish. Pheadar was very unhappy with the church, that he didn't think the church was doing enough or doing anything to promote Irish or to help the preservation of Irish. He spent years and years and years campaigning to have at least the Our Father and the Hail Mary said at Masses. Of course the Mass at that time all over the world was in Latin, but he wanted at least the Our Father, the Hail Mary said in Irish. It never happened. And he was very disappointed, of course, that we didn't have a Bible in modern Irish. So he translated the Bible himself, the whole of it. He used the Dewey English translation of the Bible, translated into Irish. It took him 12 years. It's now in the National Library in Dublin, handwritten with his own illustrations. And it's estimated that during those 12 years he would have smoked at least 125,000 Sweet Afton cigarettes. He was also a broadcaster. He had a weekly children's programme in Irish. Tughadh Ómós went on for 25 years. He wrote all the material himself. He composed the music himself for all the different rhymes and verses, and he just loved children, loved working with children, loved teaching children. He was a musician, played the fiddle. Obviously it was a great help to him in his teaching, and of course then when the teaching was finished, playing more of the dances. He was a composer, and among his best known compositions of course is the music for Urraim composed in 1907 for a feis in Dublin, I think, for the poem of Peadar O Dubda, Urraim just outside of Dundalk here, Killin Hill. I'm delighted that Jerry O'Connor is here. He's going to play it for us at the end of our service today. I've heard it played many times, but I've heard Jerry playing it several times. I think nobody plays it better. I think it's because of the local connection. Jerry plays with great pride and with great feeling. Urraim 1957, and you probably don't remember this, Lloyd won the All-Ireland. Peadar composed a march for the occasion, for the final in Croke Park. He titled it Uman Lena and Wavoon, which was the title of the poem on a famous ball game played at Bavin, the townland of Bavin in Omeath in the 18th century. And that march was played on the day by the Artane Boys Band. He was a councillor here in Dundalk, on the Dundalk Urban Council in the 1940s, elected chairman for several terms, very much associated with the housing developments in Merhevna, Clunenda, Ardesman, Park of Fierce. You'll note the Irish names. It's an awful pity, it's not happening more now. Is ceart mar sin go bhfuil muid a deanú Cumadóir Ildánach seo Pheadar Ó Dubda agus muid chus a uaighe inniu Gaeilge, Aisteoir, gearr, Múinteoir, Scríbneoir, Aisteoir, Crealtar, Ceoltar, Cumadóir, Comhairleoir, Far Pobble, Far Léin, Far Uasal, Far Dheisiú. Táid a cibhniú inniu ar fada agus ar winteoir Gúda atá curtha i gré an seo. Guimish ar the sun a lig. In anim an agus an vic agus an spirit naomh. Amen. Guimish. Guimish a dhé le cuachtaí rug tú bua ar an was, le bás de vic Isa Christ ar a cruig chéasta, níomhí tú an uí lena eilechú sa tuama, agus thug tú an bhatha híri ar Aisteoir lena Aisteoir a Uaighe Domhnaigh casca. Éis lena an ar son winteoir Gúda tá fuair bás, agus a eilechú le Christ, agus iad a súil lena bheith páirteach ina Aisteoir. A dhé na meoas na marú, tóir den winteoir cred go dílis anad ar a tíl seo, chu a bhla go séirí a bhlachas na naomh, sin é ar ní thugad trí Christ ar gearr. Amen. Agus beléach den isis agin ón bhíbla ó lór siara. John.
Slachtas jóor sarach. Madamas inis forcáile a censure a bhí agan ó éis go héis. Agan tíanach láhór de tríthe, táilte sé a bhágat a riomh an. Bhíard leithas a coideachú a rialta, agus heidir siad clúid a bhála gomas. Bhí cóideoirí críanna an más freisin, a gála go leithúla útha. Agus farthag trád an cumann na bháta, agus de háú a duscanna a bhíonna a mansre, agus a blíhre a céúra a deagas. Bhí coideachú an na Cumadóirí ceolta binne, agus brathú coideile acu tantar a fearr. Ag lucht a go amsire almost dá de fir shaoil agus ba bhór an clú agus ba bhór an clú dar éir sin. Tá coideachú deacaid cáidir man dhé sa clí go mátar go héirid go fáil. Fuir dhíganta a bhain na fir seo an neanú dearmad ar an neamh obairthe a riamh. Tá gorpan na lí go stúbar sa nua. Tá maidin na Gaeilge ó glún go glún. Fógráthí na cinethe a agníocha agus Janfaí pobal dé de bhála go háir. Sin brethir dé.
Buíthas le dé. Agus an léic chéanna Merla.
Séamus. A reading from the book of Ben Shiach.
Let us praise the illustrious men, our ancestors in their generations. The Lord gave them a share in his glory, and through them displayed his gifts. Some wielded authority as rulers and were renowned for their prowess. Others were wise counsellors and spoke prophetic oracles. Others directed the people by their advice, by their understanding of the popular mind, and by the wise word of their teaching. Others composed music and melodies and wrote down verses and rhymes. All these were honoured by their contemporaries and with the pride of their day. Some of them left a name behind them, so that their praises are still sung. These were godly men, whose good works have not been forgotten. Their bodies lie buried in peace, but their name lives on generation after generation. The peoples will proclaim their wisdom, the assembly will celebrate their praises. The word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God. And we now have the prayer of blessing on the Dubda grave and the newly renovated headstone. Gaeilge. A year war, crohi tu neau agus talu, cur tu na realty in a shaoil, nuair a bhíonn cinna déana gafa in nula bháis, chlánaí Tughadh le Dheisiú A Uaighe. De ordusa, rugar gearr níosa crís bua ar a bhás, agus Dheisiú sé an sláánú agus Aisteoir a thuirt dó siúd a creidú an. Féach go ganúil a hiarna ar an uí seo, tóir chollú suimhneach do de herbhí sí atá inse, tóir dómh Aisteoir leis na níomh lá an bhreithnis sin ar ní thugad trí Christ ar gearrna. Amen. Before our prayers of intercession, Michael's going to name all the names of all the Dowd family who are buried.
Well, we have parents Richard, Sinead, Katrina, Sean, Agnes, Owen O'Glock, Josephine, Thomas, Padraig, Richard, Pheadar Paul, agus Tras. And Mary.
So God, the Almighty Father, raised His Son, Jesus Christ, from the dead. With confidence we ask Him to save all His people, living and dead.
For Peadar O Dubda and all the deceased members of the Dowd family, that the Lord will bring them to the joy of His kingdom. Lord, hear us.
Lord, graciously hear us.
A hiarna mai dómh a bacci as ucht the Kinaltish. A hiarna Aisling.
I hear the big cancer of the Aisling.
For those who have fallen asleep in the hope of rising again, that they may see God face to face, Lord, hear us.
Fáilte grumpu isteach sa bheatha hírí, a hiarna Aisling.
For all who are buried in this cemetery, may the light of glory shine on them, and may they rest in peace. Lord, hear us.
Lín ar gríthe le dóchas go mbunamuid na flathais amach. A hiarna Aisling.
A dhé a crochaí agus a chlánaí an cinna déana, tar maithanas a bacci do na féiríonn a tamarú, go bhfuil siad ucht an páirdiún omlan sin ar ó siad a riú a cnúrais. Iarmid sin trí Christ ar gearrna. Amen.
So Lúrach Fádric, Christ Lum, Christ Rome, Christ Maia, Christ Stihanum, Christ Fum, Christos Bachan, Christ Malav Yas, Christ Malav Clay, Christ Maligum, Christ Mahasagum, Christ Grí Gachtaine atá Cuimhneacháin, Christ Mail Gachtaine a Lorian Lum, Christ Ngach Súla Échanarum, Christ Ngach Clús a Aisteoir Lum.
Agus inis cuireamid Jainur den Fadrin le Hanam Namaru, Janam is Machnov ar in Cade Rún Jewer Glower, Aisteoir Christ Owa. Arnar and Leadwil told you the new of his mighty and Arveha, or one of the new of them, the election of Gaha, Axir Shino.
Sé de bhhair atá an de grás atá tína látat spanna with the grás spanna.
A neighbour of Water Jaggy or in the packing they shook us a rur on my shimmy.
Sé de bhhair atá an de grás atá tína látat spanna with the grás spanna turbin and
a neighbour of Water Jaggy or in the packing they shook us a rur on my shimmy.
Sé de bhhair atá an de grás atá tína látat spanna with the grás spanna turbin and
a neighbour of Water Jaggy or in the packing they shook us a rur on my shimmy.
atá an de grás atá tína látat spanna with the grás spanna turbin and
a neighbour of Water Jaggy or in the packing they shook us a rur on my shimmy.
Sé de bhhair atá an de grás atá tína látat spanna with the grás spanna turbin
a neighbour of Water Jaggy or in the packing they shook us a rur on my
Sé
shimmy.
de bhhair atá an de grás atá tína látat spanna with the grás spanna turbin
a neighbour of Water Jaggy or in the packing they shook us a rur on my shimmy. a neighbour of Water Jaggy or in the packing they shook us a rur on my shimmy. a neighbour of Water Jaggy or in the packing they shook us a rur on my shimmy. a neighbour of Water Jaggy or in the packing they shook us a rur on my shimmy.
Sé de bhhair atá an de grás atá tína látat spanna with the grás spanna turbin
a neighbour of Water Jaggy or in the packing they shook us a rur on my shimmy.
Lord the Nahar agus the Nach agus an spirit
Mar a bhíar dúis, mar a tánis, mar a bhés go manigh ar git a bhhainrín a bhathair na trócara ar maithe ar millseach agus ar nóthas go manigh ar git. Is orta gléimid clán íbartha éha. Is thugad a choramid suas ar nasnaí a cíine agus a gol sa glean seán in jóir. Ar an áhar sin os tú ar náchuide ompaíorin do thuúile a talán de chrúig. Agus tar rééis na dúiríochta seo Haispan dúin Isa Tura Banithe de Brinne a Waidjan Wura Chiansa Graber Village. Gearrin a ní Wahar J, Honest Communion Galúnas Christ. Guimish. A dhí mhór níl áireamh ar de léhananta, níl teora le de chrócara, chur a gibhní dúin a rís agus a rís eile, go bhfuil ar maithe héan a bhus girid agus nach fis dúin uair ar máis. Go dróirí an spirit níomh a gcónaí sin sa níomhacht agus sa cór tríde tíl seo. Tar éis dúin freastal go thuúilt de bhart leis an aglis, le muinneann an creidimh, le solas an dóthais, agus le grád a gach duine, go dagamid go luacharach an do riocht an neamhaí trí Christ ar díarna Amen. Ar chimrí uire se churméinnéú is chuirminiuú ar chimrí a héanmhic, go bhusclaí Peadar na flachis go réideid snar curú an brethú ar a lá cléthú. Muire is Joseph go jiga a déalú is go meris lán go gachar na níomhú. Amen. Go raibh an tír na libh. Is go manaí déal a cuachta sibh, áthir, mach agus spirit naomh. Amen.
Peadar.